Well, I'm back in the office again. It turns out my wife watches my videos and knows when I make her room dirty. So, here I am. Anyway, we have something very special today. This right here is the absolute cheapest brand new motherboard that you can purchase. And even better, comes with a CPU and a cooler. Granted, it's not upgradable, but you take what you can get. So what we have here, I believe, is an AMD A4 6210. Nothing special, but it's still so unique. It's a laptop CPU soldered to an ITX motherboard. Weird though. Asus is covered up there with some Sharpie or something. Anyway, as this is effectively a laptop on an ITX board, it uses a SODIMM. Looks like I need to grab a battery for that real quick, but it came with a SATA cable and a backplate, and this only cost me $19 with free shipping. That's insanely cheap. Suspiciously cheap. But I digress. Let me go ahead and grab a battery for this real quick. Battery's acquired, and I noticed it has a little socket there where I can put a Wi-Fi card in. Grab my screwdriver here. Now, I don't have any antennas for this Wi-Fi card, but still, it's nice to have. And antennas for this are dirt cheap. You can get them for a couple bucks on AliExpress or eBay. Let's get this battery installed before I forget. Because I will. I will forget. If I can even get it out of here. Jeez. There we go. There we go is a strong term. Come on. Never had this much trouble getting a battery out. Okay. Battery installed. So, we're 20 bucks in on the motherboard. A little less than 20. I also picked this up for about 18 bucks. It's a Patriot 256 gig SSD. So we're 40 bucks in on this PC. And even though I bought it for another build, I'm still going to count this for cost as well. This is an AMD RX 460 that I got for $15. So we're looking at about $55 so far. And that is where the spending that I made, at least, is going to stop. Because everything else I got from the trash. So, go ahead and set some of these things off to the side real quick. Make room for the case that we're going to use. Now, a while back I promised that we would do a reverse sleeper in this old Dell Dimension case. Now, this is one that I've used in the past, so it's already configured for this. And what I mean by that is this. The front panel is proprietary, so I had to do this. Now, the proper thing to do is to solder these wires together, but, well, I'll be honest, I did this about 10 years ago. And my skills weren't so great back then. Now, I was using my soldering iron at work last, which means I don't have it with me, so I can't remedy this situation. Which means this sad legacy is going to live on. Got some sort of fan in the front. It spins. Maybe it'll work. Looks like it has some LEDs in it too. So, first things first. Let's go ahead and get this. I immediately lost it. I'll be right back. Okay, I had to dig this out from under a few PCs I have under this table. I need to clear out some of the builds I've done. I'm out of space. Oh, come on, get in there. What is the big deal here? Come on. Ugh. I'm bending the I/O plate. Ugh. Okay, what the hell? Is this like not the proper size or something? Like bend this just a little bit. Okay. Try this now. Get in there. Oof. Nope, that's still not in. Oh. Wow, that is poorly made. See if I can get that out of there. Okay. Motherboard time. Now this should be standard ITX spacing. Perfect. Go ahead and get this secured. Now this is an old case, so it uses the coarse thread screws, not the fine thread. But in any reasonably modern case, it'll be fine thread. Two. Three. And four. Okay, I'm actually not going to put the graphics card in yet, mostly because I would like to test how bad the onboard graphics are. Let's see. The question is, did I put these on correct? I don't remember. Let's find out. We're going to use the hard drive reset switch, power switch. I hope I put these on correctly because it could be bad if I didn't. Let's see. Reset and power. Boy, I hope that those... Wife stopped by. And now I forgot where I was. Okay. Well, I'm sure it wasn't important, so let's go ahead and put this power supply in. Looks like I need some more coarse thread screws. Here we go. Got some on my desk. Luckily, at least back then, Dell used a lot of the standard mounting holes, even if they didn't have standard power supplies themselves. So, if I can get this started, my goodness. One. Two. Three. And four. Let's go ahead and get these tightened down. So I found this power supply in a PC that was in the trash. Had some water damage, but only on the motherboard. Power supply survived. Luckily for me. Free stuff is great. Free is the right price. Okay. So, and since this is a laptop CPU, we don't need the 4 or 8 pin P4 connectors. Just the motherboard power connector. So the rest of this we can mostly just kind of tuck away. But let's go ahead. Oh no, this has those HP screws on them. Do I have a flathead that I can use? Yeah, this will work. Really hate those Torx bits. I have the proper Torx bits. They are not in this room. So, we will make do. I don't know how HP does it, but these almost seem to get tighter the closer they are to getting out. Okay. Now I think I have to remove the front bezel to get this in here. Pretty sure I do at least. One, two. Oh yeah, Dell has these semi-proprietary things here. Not proprietary, just really weird standoffs for how they put the optical drives in. So, this screw goes in, looks like the bottom front. And back in the day when they expected you to upgrade these things, they actually gave you some extras, which was nice. They would never do that now. Let me tell you that. Dell just wants you to buy a brand new PC. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and stick that in the top one. And we just need a fine thread screw for this. Come on. One. Okay. That's in. So what's next? We've got two SATA devices to connect. One 90 degree for the optical drive. That's uno. I need another SATA cable for the SSD. Got one sitting on my TV. It's a really long one, but it'll do. That. And that. So the SSD, we're just gonna, oh come on, screw in with one screw, but it's got no moving parts, so it doesn't really matter. Fun fact though, if you do use these cases and you put a hard drive where the floppy drive would go, there is just enough space above it to slide an SSD in above the hard drive. Speaking from experience, because that's how I had this case the first time I used it as a reverse sleeper. I've got a fourth screw around here somewhere. Heck, if I can find it. Anyway, power. SATA power. We are going to tuck this 6-pin PCIe. Just, no we're not. That's open to the front, so we're going to use this power for the DVD drive. And this power for the SSD. And that's it. Put this front panel back on. I really wish I had the cover for this bottom one. I'm pretty sure it's around here somewhere. I never throw those out. But I don't know where it is. So let's go ahead. I'm going to get Windows installed off screen, because if you've seen one Windows installation, you've seen them all. If something weird comes up, you'll see it. Otherwise, I'll see you when I'm on the desktop. Well, before I go and do that, let's see if I plugged this front panel in correctly. Nope. So, I did not. Oh, wait. You know what? Power supply wasn't plugged in. I'm dumb. Take number 2. Yeah. It just works. Okay. Let's... Yeah, it wants me to go into setup. Seems pretty standard so far. Mouse support works. Let's see, it is currently November. It just turned the 22nd. 2024. And it's like somewhere around 3. Don't actually know. Doesn't matter. Can change that later. CPU configuration. Pretty standard. Looks like base clocks are 1 gigahertz, boost clocks 1.8. It's a quad core. Not really much to look at here. I'm going to assume that this 2015 laptop CPU has similar performance to like a later Core 2 quad. I know that it's not as good as any of the Intel Core i3 series. It just isn't. And there's not a whole lot else I can do. AHCI. Yeah, I mean, Realtek PXE. Ooh, it supports PXE boot. That's kind of nice. Not that we'll ever need that. We're good. Okay, fast boot drive. Yeah. Secure boot. Okay. UEFI. Save changes. Yes. And as long as we can get into the Windows installer that I have plugged into the back, I'll cut it there and we'll skip to the desktop. So, which button do I have to press for the boot menu? Is it F9? Maybe 11? Just gives me the prompts to get into the BIOS. Nope. Let's just get into the BIOS and manually boot off the flash drive. Okay, F2 doesn't work. We'll do delete. It says delete or F2. Huh, that's not good. Let me see. Just do this. Okay. Now, let's do a manual boot override. UEFI, USB. Okay, boot option 1, UEFI, USB, there we go. I wish I knew which button to press for choosing the boot options. I might have gotten it right with 9 or 11, but this thing is clearly a little picky about when you have to press the buttons. What? Okay, we're gonna find this boot menu. Nope, that's not it. Maybe it's F10 or F12. Nope. F7 or F8? What the heck is going on here? Okay, it's one of those two. Yeah, UEFI, USB. Maybe. There is the question. Oh, okay. There is the question of whether or not this even is. Let's try F8. There is the question of whether or not this USB even has my... It is F8. My Windows installer on it. Let's try non-UEFI booting. And this board might also just have a borked UEFI. No. Okay. Let me verify that this even has my Windows 10 installer on it. I'll be right back. Okay, well, I found a USB that has a Windows 10 installer. At this point, all I need to do is get the darn thing installed. Uh-oh, no, this is the Windows 7 installer I've got. Mulligan. Let me find my Windows 10 installer. Well, here we are on the desktop, and I have a few games already installed. What I've chosen today is Battletech, Borderlands 2, Dark Souls 3, Deep Rock Galactic, Left 4 Dead 2, and Risk of Rain 2. This should give us a reasonable mix of older titles, newer titles, AAA games, and indie games. And, after some preliminary testing, OBS does not impact performance. At least it doesn't seem to. As slow as this machine really is, it's not CPU bound right now. It is definitely graphics bound. Now, these were some of the first these were some of the first CPUs that had somewhat decent onboard graphics. So I am expecting this to be able to at least run some of the games. Maybe not super well, but it should be able to run them. What's really holding us back is the fact that we have single channel RAM, a single stick of 8 gigs. So wish that this motherboard had 2 sockets to get 16. I have a spare 8 gigabyte stick, but alas, the motherboard was $19. So, let's go ahead and see how it games with the onboard graphics. I will also say this, that despite the fact that we're on an SSD, my god, the load times are absolutely the worst. I'm not quite sure what this is. It might be a chipset bottleneck, of all things. I really don't think it's a CPU bottleneck, but, I mean, we're almost a minute in. You know, we're at 40%. This is Risk of Rain 2 that I'm loading. Should not take this long. And by the way, the noise you're hearing in the background is my PC. I need to replace one of the fans. But I mean, look at how slow this is to load. Also, I can say that since this is the game that I tested with, the input lag in the menus is absolutely insane. But gameplay, not so bad. Anyway, let's fire up that gameplay footage.
Whoa! Don't shoot, it's me!
Firing a full salvo. One less target.
Well, that was certainly a thing. I think the only game out of any of those that was halfway playable was Borderlands. And, my goodness. So, with that said, I think it's time we threw a graphics card in here and see if this fixes all of our issues. I will say, I'm very happy at how quiet this PC is. I mean, it's almost silent. In fact, I think this is the quietest PC I've ever owned. That's not all the way in. There we go. So, I guess let's see how much performance increase there is. I'm gonna guess there's gonna be a bunch.
Oh, heck, the rescue chopper's leaving!
Damn it, 5 minutes too late.
There's a mall got turned into an evac station not too far from here. I bet that chopper's heading there.
Good enough for me. Grab a weapon, let's go.
Everybody grab a weapon. Better to have one and not need it than need one and not have it. Reloading!
That hit something good.
Mech destroyed.
Now, there is another reason one might like this less than $20 motherboard and CPU combo. And that's surprisingly simple. Go ahead and power it on and show you what I mean. Remember at the beginning where I mentioned this was probably right around a Core 2 quad in performance? Well, that's pretty good for one operating system, and that's Windows XP. Additionally, this integrated GPU does actually have drivers for Windows XP. Hell, the USB 3 has drivers for Windows XP. I can't get them to work, but, you know, I'm sure there's a way to make it function. Now, I've got my standard test suite of games for Windows XP, and I had intended to do some recordings, but unfortunately, OBS does not support Windows XP. Now, OBS is excellent. OBS is lightweight and makes very good use of your hardware. There aren't a lot of screen recording options for Windows XP. I chose Bandicam. And, there's a problem with this. No matter what game I try, once I start recording, it cuts the performance by about 2/3. We could go from 70, 80 FPS down to about 20 to 30. That's not great. So, the good news is, Bandicam does display a frame rate counter. So, we're going to go old school and just point the camera at the screen and see what we can do. Unfortunately, I did not bring any speakers with me, so we're going to have to do this quietly. But we are locked at 60 frames per second here. I need to turn down the mouse sensitivity if I'm going to be playing this. Oh my god. But, yeah, I never did figure out how to disable VSync. I'm pretty sure that light there falls down and crushes me. It tries to. So, yeah. I'd say this is a solid, easy win for this, you know. Not a whole lot of reason to test much further. It's Unreal. It came out in the 90s. A CPU with an integrated GPU from 2015 should damn well be able to play this at no problem. So, let's move on. Just as a matter of course, we are going to attempt to set this to the absolute maximum. Just because, I mean, this is a very well optimized game. So we should be able to do this. That should have triggered the holy shit. So, what do we got? Let us fire up a nope, that's not what I wanted. I wanted instant action. Deathmatch. A random one. Sure. Now, I have one small issue, and that's my mouse scroll wheel apparently doesn't work. So, oh, yeah, this is going to be fine. This is going to be just fine. You know, we're tickling the hundreds in some areas. Oh yeah. No issues here. I did see it just dip down to, I think high 40s. But we're averaging closer to 80 something. I'm satisfied with this. And I don't actually want to make this video too incredibly, flat cannon, too long, so let's go ahead and just call it where it is. Move on to the next game. I'm not sure what it was, but loading does not seem to be an issue under XP, so there might have been some sort of chipset driver that never got installed. So, yeah, I know how to fire my gun. Battlefront 2 has always been the hardest for us to test. But this is great. I mean, we're at the highest settings. We're averaging about 30, which, you know, not perfect. Still very, very playable. If my computer could have done 30 frames per second when I was a kid, I would have been a very happy camper. But it could not. I beat this game when it came out, averaging 10 to 15. Yeah, this is fine. We're averaging high 30s. More than acceptable, especially considering that what I've got in mind for this is much older games. Well, here we are with the Battle Engine Aquila. I really love this game. No issues whatsoever, of course. I do have one thing. I'd like to find out if there's a way to disable VSync. So let's have a look at that real quick. VSync. No. Now what can we reach? Mid-70s. Depending on where you look. Yeah. I would have been a very happy camper if I could have had this kind of performance back in the day. Anyway, let's move on to another game. Now this is a game that I really loved back in the day, but I'm afraid I don't remember the controls. So let's see. This is called Dark Orbit. A little hard to run, but that's not terribly surprising. This game, it was hard to run on every PC back in the day, or at least that was my experience. I got the free trial included with some PC my mother had. Ooh. It's a fun game though. It is abandonware, so you can find it for free. I highly recommend checking this out. But I think that this is pretty much all we need to see. We're locked at a solid 25. Now, granted, we are on ultra details, but point stands. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go ahead and close this down. We'll return to the desktop, and I'll give you my final thoughts, and perhaps, maybe, hint at an upcoming video. So, the real question is this motherboard a good value? And the answer is a resounding yes, absolutely. I mean, for less than 20 bucks, you're getting a quad-core CPU, a mostly fully featured motherboard, and a CPU cooler all built in. Sold. I plan on buying more of these. This is just such a good deal. I mean, had no issues with Windows 10 other than really weird loading times. There's a fly on my camera. That's great. Where did you come from? Yeah, I cannot recommend this enough. This is amazing. And I think it's a really great replacement for vintage systems like this. Because, no, even with the graphics card upgrade, you're not going to be playing the latest AAA games. but the onboard graphics is more than capable of playing pretty much any older title from like 2006 and before. Lower your settings, and you're probably good up until about 2010. So, I'm extremely happy with how this came out. However, there's a couple of caveats, of course. Single channel memory is just a huge limitation. I'm very disappointed that they didn't put the second slot on there, but beggars can't be choosers. I also wish that it had a USB 3 header. It does have USB 3 support. Don't know why they didn't put a header on there. I could have really used that for a newer case. But I will say, there is one thing that really sets this motherboard aside from all the others. And that's the power usage. I mean, even while gaming, we were at less than 40 watts entire system power. That is absolutely insane. I mean, that's crazy. Additionally, there is one thing that this motherboard could be good for. We're going to find out. And that is a NAS. And here we are. We have reached the end of the video. I would like to thank my Patreon subscribers. And if you head over to my Patreon, link down below, you will find all sorts of exclusive content, both free and for paid members. But I digress. Jarl, thank you so much. Goo3443, Flo Kala, a longtime subscriber, Dr. Larks, another longtime member, Adam, Sean Patrick, another longtime member, and Carly. Thank you all so very much. And the rest of you too watching this video. I could not have done any of this without all of your support. So please, as cringy as it is to ask, if you liked this content, please leave me a like. Let me know if you think that this is just a silly idea, or if there really is some merit to this motherboard. Leave that in the comment down below. It helps the algorithm. And if you'd like to see more content like this, feel free to subscribe. No pressure. I'm out. I'm tired.